right. So we're doing our new Wednesday evening lead gen series for our second quarter. So every Wednesday night at 7 o'clock, we will be touching base on different types of lead generation. So we have, let's see, we have open houses, we have your circle of influence and referrals. And when I talk about referrals, I mean like from your circle of influence or past clients. We have the farm, we have social media, we have door knock your way to success, which is different than the farm. We have leveraging listings. I'll do a lead gen open Q&A towards the end of May. Then we have seminars, business to business, events, and then another open Q&A near the end of June. So once a month, you kind of get like an open Q&A in case you have lead gen related questions. Tonight is holding successful open houses. Dun, dun, dun. All right. As always, if you have questions, you can throw them in the chat box. You can unmute yourself and just interrupt me, or you can raise your little hand there in Zoom land and ask your question. I am a huge fan of open houses, mainly because I feel like they're easy. Like as a new agent, especially, I think all agents should do open houses. As a new agent, they're one of the easiest ways to start kind of dabbling and getting your feet wet in a situation that forces you to have to interact with potential clients, right? It's a little different than like getting up the nerves to talk to somebody in public, like while you're at the grocery store or Home Depot. You don't have to go knock on somebody's door. Like you put signs in the yard and hopefully people show up. We're going to teach you how to make it a little bit more systematic than that, but push comes to shove, you shove some signs out, you show up, and people come to the house, and we assume every person that comes to that house is either looking to buy or sell property. Like it's just that simple. And then you just can have conversations with them. So the benefits of open houses, number one, we just talked about lead generation. Remember that we do host open houses mainly for the source of lead generation. Only 1% of homes sell from an open house. Okay, so we're really not doing it to sell the house for our sellers or somebody else's sellers. We don't tell them that. We tell our sellers that we're absolutely doing the open house to market the property and lead gen or to market the property to get it sold. But really it's lead generation. In addition, it gets you exposure, right? You've got signs out there with your name on them, or you can borrow my signs. We have really cute signs now. They're new, so you can borrow our signs. I'm happy to let you give me some free exposure. But it's exposure. It gets your name out there, especially if you're doing open houses in your farm area, or, you know, people drive by and they see those, and then it's just that repeated exposure. If done properly, it's a great use of your time. And worst case scenario, you get lots of work or practice done, and it still makes it a win-win. Okay. Attitude is everything when it comes to open houses. So go into it with the assumption and knowing that your open house is going to be productive, that people are going to show up, and that you're going to walk away with at least one solid lead. That was always my goal with open houses, was if I walked away with one solid lead that was going to buy or sell a property in the next 3 to 6 months, I was happy. You want to plan, prepare, know the market and the property. Okay, we'll dive into this a little bit more in detail about how to prepare, but you do want to prepare and dress professionally, right? You're holding an open house, which you're intending to be hired by prospective buyers or sellers. So that's your first impression. So no, you don't have to wear a 3-piece suit to your open house, but you also probably don't want to wear sweatpants and a sweatshirt. Okay, maybe jeans and a sweatshirt if you're me. No, even I don't wear sweatshirts to open houses. So I wear something nice because I'm trying to make a good impression on the people that walk through. I want them to know who I am, but I also want to make a good impression. So make sure that you dress professionally. Anytime really you're interacting with clients, especially clients you don't know, you should be dressing professionally. So I'm just going to throw that out there. It's one thing, like oftentimes the first couple times I meet with a client, especially if I don't know them, they're not friends or family, I'm going to dress a little bit more professionally than I might like on appointment 3 or 4 as they get to know me a little bit better. So I may like hide the hoodie until appointment 2 or 3. Just because I want to come across as a professional. I want them to trust me. I'm trying to get that BRBC signed, and I want them to know that I take my job seriously and as a professional. So just anytime you interact with clients that you don't know, you should be making sure that you're dressed professionally. I did have a rule that if somebody wanted to schedule a showing on Sundays, that was casual Sunday because it was my family day and they were just getting me as I was on Sundays, and everybody was totally okay with that. Safety first for your open houses. So never, ever, ever host an open house alone. It's for safety. And you also want to follow the following safety tips. Right? You should share with somebody the address of the house that you're holding open, the hours that you will be there, your anticipated return time, and make sure that you have a code you can use if you call and you're in trouble. Okay, like you might want to say that I think the sink is leaking, right? Or whatever it is. There's a dog running down the street, even if there's not a dog running down the street, right? Like some keyword. It could be like watermelon, like whatever it is, just make sure your person knows what that is. There's also apps out there that can help you keep safe during an open house. So there's one that you open it on your phone, and if you tap it or hold, I think if you tap it or hold it down, then it automatically calls the police to your location. So there's different things like that as well. But we do recommend that you never hold an open house alone. So if you're like, well, Amy, who in the world would hold an open house with me? Well, number one, this is a great opportunity for your partners, your affiliate partners, like your lenders, your insurance agents, people like that, that have a vested interest in that house selling, that might also want the business, right? So the number one pick is usually a lender, because all the leads can be shared equally between you and them. You're both in it for the same purpose, but it's different types of business. Same thing with like an insurance agent. Answer questions about insurance. They're available, they're there, they can help them through it. The lender's nice because they can get their information, help them get pre-qualified right away if you find somebody that does want to buy that house. Next option would be another realtor, right? You can always share that open house with another realtor. If you're going to do that, just make sure that you have a conversation with them before the open house of how the leads are going to be split or divvied up, or what the share is going to be for any transactions resulting from that open house. And the other option is you can always bring like a family member, like a spouse or a sibling or whoever, some other adult with you. Okay, so there's lots of options there, but I do recommend that you never host the house alone. Any questions so far? All right. Next, I recommend that you have a open house success kit. This would be something that you're going to prep and make sure it's ready to go during the week before your open house. I recommend a minimum of 6 to 12 personalized open house signs. Again, we're talking about exposure. We want people to begin to see your name all over town and recognize you. So make sure that those are personalized open house signs. And again, sometimes you may want to wait until you have a closing or two before you order those open house signs. And usually other agents are happy to let you borrow their signs. Make sure you have some business cards with you. And I would create a digital business card. I actually have one that I just created recently from, it's called QR Me. And when you open it, it has a QR code that people can scan. And when they scan it, it opens up their contacts. They scroll to the bottom, they can save you as a contact. Super simple. It's got all my information in there, including my social media, websites, where they can book an appointment with me, all different things in there. So it's really cool that way. So make sure you have some business cards with you. I would have some buyer handbooks, right? Like your buyer presentation that talks about how to buy, what happens when you buy a house. You may also want some personal marketing materials. In your open house success kit, I highly recommend a tape measure. I know Bree was mentioning this the other day, how many people come in and want to know if something, how big a room is or a space is. So having a tape measure handy is definitely a winning item. Clipboard and evaluation sheets. So I like to do my sign-ins on pieces of paper. I'm old-fashioned that way, but the other reason that I like to do it is that it allows them, number one, I do like half sheets of paper, and there's multiple clipboards, so they don't have to stand at the table while they fill it out in case there's lots of people coming in the door. It doesn't create a line. And then they hand it to me. People are a lot more willing to share their information if they don't think the next person that walks through that door is going to see it, like on a sign-in sheet where they're putting their information in row format. And it allows me then to flip it over and make notes. What did I talk about with that visitor? What conversations did we have? What were they wearing? Who was with them? So that I remember when I go to do my thank yous and my other follow-up and put them in my database, who that person was and what that conversation entailed. Some people like to do a tablet or a laptop with the like an open house sign-in sheet on there, so it goes straight into their database. I know Claudia mentioned that she created a QR code, and now Canva and I think our websites and stuff will allow you to do that, but it was a QR code that people could scan and then enter their information, so it went straight into our database that way, but they can utilize their own phone or whatever they have in their hands. So that's a good way to do it. You may want to bring bottled waters or something like that. If you're going to do bottled waters or any sort of food giveaway, I highly recommend that you brand it to yourself, because again, we're there for lead generation. We want them to remember us. So, go buy some labels for those water bottles and slap them on with your information and maybe a cool little saying, maybe tie your card to it, whatever that might be. If it's vacant, make sure you've got a chair to sit down in the downtime. Otherwise, standing around for 2 hours could get exhausting. And then I also always bring a small table. Actually, I have like a TV tray that I bring that I set right in front of the door because I make people sign into that open house. I always make sure I also have a flashlight. That way, if there's some place that's dark in there that people want to see or look into, we have a flashlight available. And then also, because I use a paper sign in, I also make sure in my success kit I have a handful of pens. Okay, any questions about the open house success kit?
No, ma'am.
Fabulous.
Actually, where would you get the labels for the bottled waters?
Yeah, so you can go to like Staples and just get like a longer Avery label, or if you go on Etsy, there's places that sell like water bottle labels, or you could like Google water bottle labels. There's lots of places where you could find those.
Okay.
Absolutely.
Question.
Yeah,
Yes.
Bree had a question about the buyer handbook. Yes, the buyer handbook as well as that seller handbook, Bree, you can find those on One Design. They're in there under the template. So there's one there. I can also share with you mine, and then you can take it and kind of create your own out of it. Mine really walks you through the home buying process more so than some of the other ones do. So I'm happy to share that with you. So yeah. Say that again?
Yes, please.
Okay, perfect. All right. I am all about systems and processes. You hear me say that on just about every training we have, probably every training. I probably should stop saying just about, but that leaves me like a margin of error. I talk about those systems and processes, right? So if open houses are going to be your form of lead gen or one of your legs of lead gen, you should have a system around it. You should know that if Saturday is my day this week to hold an open house, or even like I'm looking at my calendar and it's Thursday or Friday, and I'm setting myself up for success for next week. And I know I have an open house scheduled for next weekend, even if I don't officially have it scheduled. I know that that open house system needs to go into effect and be on my calendar on a daily system. So I highly recommend creating a 7-day open house system. Day one, you're going to select the property. This is usually going to be 5 days prior to the open house. It may be also, right, we're looking at our calendar the Friday before. So as we're doing our calendar review for that next week, we're like, oh my gosh, next Saturday I have an open house. You might sit down on Friday and try to determine where you're going to hold that open house that next Saturday. Reach out to agents who's got properties coming on the market, who has active listings now, right? So we want to start doing our research to select that property. Keep in mind that the location, the condition, the price, and the terms is going to be important. So make sure it's in a location that you want to do business in, and that you're comfortable being in a house or in and having people walk into. Okay, don't put yourself in a questionable situation just by choosing a poor neighborhood. Also, we want to make sure that it's easy to get to. Okay, if it's going to take 23 signs to get to that property from a main road, it's probably too far tucked away that it's not going to be as effective as one that you could get with 1 or 2 turns off that main road. Also make sure it's in a price point that you want to be doing business. Okay. It's always going to be your own property whenever possible and appropriate. Okay. And what do I mean by appropriate? Well, if your listing isn't in a neighborhood that you feel comfortable hanging out in, or if it takes 23 turns to get to your property, you may want to choose somebody else's to hold open. Okay, the next option would be office listings, right? Who else in our office has listings ready to go? The other option would be hold open houses on listings in your farm area, right? So if I'm looking at location, even if I've got a listing, maybe I've held my listing open a couple weekends, and now it's my turn to do an open house again this weekend, and I'm thinking, man, I really want to hold my listing open, but there's one in my farm that our office has, and maybe I can do that one instead, because now I'm doing double duty, tending to my farm and holding a house open. If it's not my own property, I always look for vacant homes first versus occupied properties. There's just less that can go wrong on a vacant home. So I much prefer to hold open a vacant home than one that's got the seller's possessions in there. And I much prefer to hold houses open on weekends versus weekdays, but you might find it to be different. So don't count out weekdays to hold houses open, especially if there's a vacant listing that someone in our office has and you're going to be sitting around the office doing work. Like, go hold a house open, because you've got a more solid potential that somebody's going to walk into that house that wants to buy or sell a property than somebody's going to walk into the office that wants to buy or sell a property. Okay, so go sit in a house. Any questions about selecting the property? All right, day two.
Do you have any coming up?
I do have a listing coming up, but it's in Sacramento. Yeah.
Oh, let me know. I got a buyer looking in Sacramento.
It's gonna be like 420,000.
Right in their ballpark.
All right.
I'll
I'll shoot you over the details later.
You're the best.
It's gonna hit the market this weekend, I think. Okay, 4 days prior to the open house, so right, day two of preparation, we're gonna make sure that the listing agent enters that house into the MLS with your name and phone number as the host in the info box. Okay, if you are the listing agent, you're gonna put your own information in there. You're gonna create those open house flyers, right? There's a really easy way to do that. I'll show you here in a minute, and you're gonna create your Google. Okay, we're gonna revisit that in a minute as well. Also want to identify the homes that you're going to door knock. I recommend a minimum of 25 doors, usually about 5 to 10 on either side and about 15 on across the street. Okay, it's even better if you can get to 50, but door knock a minimum of 25. And you're like, Amy, why do we door knock the neighbors' houses? Well, good thing you asked. It's because somebody who can see that sign in the yard is going to sell their house. That's what statistics tell us. So we want to start building relationship with those neighbors that can see that for sale sign, because we know one of them is going to put their house on the market. So the more interactions that we have, the better relationship we're going to build. And you're like, what would you say? Well, one of the things that you can say when you knock on a door is, hey, my name's Amy. I'm hosting an open house this weekend. I just wanted to give you a heads up because there might be a little bit more traffic in the neighborhood than normal. So I just wanted to make you aware of that. And I also wanted to invite you to come by and check out that open house. Do you happen to know anybody that's looking to move to this neighborhood? Now's a great time to pick your neighbors. Right, so we're coming with valuable information for them. Heads up, we've got visitors coming to the open house. There might be more traffic. Just be aware, right? And who do you know? We're also inviting them to the open house because we know the neighbors want to be nosy and come check out the house. So it's okay to invite them over. Okay, we're going to create our social media posts so that they're ready to go. And I left the last point on there. It needs to be deleted because it's a duplicate. All right, your Google Drive for visitors. Okay, I like to do a Google Drive because I know Anastasia this last weekend had an open house and had lots of visitors through. And who was it that held the open house after you? Was it Rodney? Who was it?
Ralph Baruman.
Oh, yep. So held the open house and actually ran out of flyers. I don't even have paper flyers, so I don't have to run out of flyers. I have one flyer in the property that says house copy. And if anybody else wants a flyer, they've got to make sure they share the right information with me, right? Either the right phone number or the right email address, so I can share that information with them. So I have the Google Drive on my phone. I create a folder in my Google Drive called like 123 Sample Street Open House. In there, I'm going to have the MLS data sheet, right? The client full property data sheet in there with all the details on the property. I'm gonna have the property flyer in there with all of my information on it, all my contact information, maybe a copy of the plot map, the school information, area information, any property disclosures or reports that are available on that property. I'm gonna download them from the MLS. I'm gonna get them from the listing agent. I'm gonna download them off their disclose or Homelight Listing Management site. Wherever those are, I'm gonna pull those and put those into the folder. Maybe information on the nearby businesses, the property feature sheet. So, right, the MLS data sheet may not have all the property features. So sometimes we have a list of all the updates or upgrades or whatever the property has. I might include that. I'm going to do a CMA on the property so that we know whether it's priced appropriately or not and the comps to support that price. And if it's listed below market, the comps that support coming in higher, and a neighborhood update. Some of that information I'm going to get from List Reports. So if we go to listreports.com, you can create a free account because you know me, I like my free tools. So List Reports allows you to have a free account. See if it pulls up anytime soon. If you have a preferred lender that also has a List Reports account, they can share that with you and unlock all the premium features. And then we go. I'm going to go shareables. Here's where you would, oh, it's got all sorts of, side note, the shareables are all things that you can share on your social media and stuff. So there's like social media posts in here, daily, weekly talking points, notables, local housing market data, list back, right? So there's all sorts of fun things in there. But you're going to go for your open house information. You're going to go to marketing kits. You would click the new marketing kit. You would plug in the address for the property. And then it's going to pull up that information and it's going to create a marketing kit for you, which is really fabulous. It's got a text to lead code that you can put on there that if they text that number, then the notifies you and they have to put in their information. They get information on the property. We won't even talk about that right now though, but here is the open house social media shareables. So it's got a social media shareables ready to go. You don't even have to create them on your own. So those are the social media. It's got, let's see down here. Just wait for the rest of it to load. It's going to create open house flyers for you. It also has all of the neighborhood information, nearby businesses, the walkability score, the information on the nearby schools. There we go. It's really slow tonight. You can do it. It's going to load all of the flyers except the open house flyer for me. But look, it's got like a just listed, a professional or a promotional under in escrow under contract coming soon. It's got all sorts. There we go. Open house flyers in there with pictures, all the information pulled directly from the MLS, bedroom and bathroom counts. It's branded to you. And then it's also got these infographics. So it's got like your convenience score, how far is the nearest ATM, coffee, gas, groceries, gym, movie theater, and what is it? Medical, cleaners, right? It's got the great outdoors, nearest dog park, golf course, hiking, lake.
So you put all of that information in there?
No, it usually pulls most of that information. I usually add in the hiking at Pene Adobe and I usually add in Lake Berryessa, but it usually will pull over like the closest parks or the golf courses and stuff. So it pulls over some of that information. All this, it pulls in all by itself.
You've been hiding this from me.
I have shared it multiple times. It's got the neighborhood eats, what kind of food is nearby and the pricing of those restaurants. It's got schools with the school ratings. So how cool is this? So I usually print up one colored copy of this that I have in the property. And then the rest of it, I throw in my Google Drive folder so that I can share it with them as part of that Google Drive. So that's a list report.
How do you put it in the Google Drive?
You just download it here. So you would
Uh-huh.
download it, and then I would go to my Google Drive. I was looking up artichokes earlier. All right, and then I go new in your Google Drive. I really like Google Drives. Let's see, it's still loading. Let's see if it goes to new here. I'll just keep clicking. There we go. And I'm going to go new folder. I was like, I don't see it. And then I'm going to title it, you know,
Whatever the open house address is.
1, 2, 3. Yeah, whatever the address is. Sample Street. Create. And we're going to go folders. Oops. There we go. And then you just come in here. And then from here, I think you can add it directly. Let's see. You can take it if you can find that folder. Let's see. I'm going to open up my thing. Maybe, maybe not. Come on, download folder. You can do it. There we go. All right, download folder. Hold on, you guys are in my way. We're going to go downloads. And then I'm going to take that infographic. If I can get it to, no, I don't want to open it. Having problems. There we go. Just drag and drop it in there. It'll upload it straight to that folder. So that's how I put all that stuff in that folder. And then again, I have that Google Drive on my phone, and I would save a shortcut to that folder. So it makes it really easy to share that directly from my phone.
Okay.
Okay. In addition to this in my Google Drive, the other thing that I usually put in here that is not listed on this list is I think about if somebody didn't want this property, why would they not want it, and what properties would they be looking for instead? Like this one is a like if it was a home without a pool, you know, maybe people would come into it hoping that it had a pool. So I might pull a list of all homes in the area that have pools. Or if this one is like 1,600 square feet, I might pull properties and it had 3 bedrooms, 2 baths. I might pull all the properties that have like 4 bedrooms in the area, right? Or maybe this one has a really small yard and maybe somebody would want a bigger yard. Or vice versa. Maybe this one's a really huge yard and somebody walks in and goes, there's no way I could take care of all this. I want something with a smaller yard, like I'm never home, right? So I'm going to pull a list. I'm going to go in the MLS and do property searches in the area that all have the characteristics that I think somebody would be looking for that would walk into this property if they didn't want that house. And I'm going to have those lists handy and available. So that I'm going to put that in my Google Drive. I think I do that on like one day prior to the open house. So that's all the most recent information, but I do put that in my Google folder as well. So that I have that information to share. And that way, if somebody's like, oh my gosh, I was really hoping for a home with a pool, you could be like, oh, well, I've got all the homes. I've got a list of all the homes that are currently active in the area with a pool. Would you like me to send it to you? Right. I know that on their sign-in sheet, people aren't always truthful and I don't always get the right information. So my goal here is number one, to be the expert of the area and the property. And number two, I want to make sure I have something that they would want to make sure they give me viable information for. So at that point, I'm going to flip over their sign-in sheet and be like, oh, is this the best phone number for you? I can text a link to the folder to you. Right? Or is this the best email? Right? It gives me a chance to verify that information they've given me. Okay, so day 2 is that preparation and creating that Google Drive. Day 3 is when we're going to start beginning promoting the property. So you're going to begin posting it on social media. You may want to boost your social media post. You may want to create a video announcement. And if you have sign writers, you may want to go install them on the property, like one that says, you know, open this Saturday or open Saturday 2 to 4. If you don't have access to list reports, you should still have access to all the school districts and walkability and everything. That's one of the free things. Now that I can't get out of here, but that should be free. Because I don't have a lender partner anymore on mine. So you should be able to do it. Okay, so day 3, social media, boost posts. Just so you know, when I boost a post on social media, I usually spend about $30. I've found that $30 seems to be the cutoff of getting pretty good placement without having to spend a lot of money. If you spend like $20, sometimes I feel like the placement isn't as good. So usually $30 is about the sweet spot. Okay, that video announcement may be that you schedule time at the property on day 3 and you do a video walkthrough of it. Or you just go on, do a live, right, announcement on social media. You'll be holding an open house live this weekend with the property address, the times that you'll be there. So you may want to, you could do a couple different ways for that. Day 4 is going to be continued promotion. This is going to be 2 days prior to the open house, or if your open house was on Saturday, this would be Thursday. You want to send an open house invite to your database and your circle of influence. Hey, stop by and come visit me at the open house this weekend. I'll be holding blah, blah, blah open. If you know anybody looking to move to the area, be a great opportunity to bring them by a house and introduce them to me. You're going to update that social media post to ensure that it shows up as the most recent or create a new post. You want to make sure to send instructions to the listing agent for the seller. Hey, just a reminder, I'm holding your house open, your listing open this weekend on Saturday from 2 to 4. Please let the sellers know that I'll be there by about 1 o'clock on Saturday, and I'll probably be there until about 4:30. Right? We're going to give ourselves a buffer ahead of time and a buffer afterwards to make sure that we can set up the house appropriately and get it cleaned up. Please remind your sellers if they've got any valuables or medicines to tuck those away and out of sight. And I recommend asking them not to put it in the top drawers of any dressers, as sometimes nosy buyers will open those drawers, to put it in a drawer lower than the top. Let's see, and then your arrival and departure time, right? So we're just giving them a heads up, reminding them of the things they need to take care of. On day 4, I'm also going to identify the number and the location of all of my directional signs so that I know exactly where it is that I'm going to place those signs, or where I'm going to have my sign person go and set up those signs on my open house day. Okay, any questions about day 4 continued promotion? All right, day 5, this would be Friday if your open house is on Saturday. Just so you know too, you could also still, even if your open house was on Sunday, you could run this through Friday, take Saturday off, and then run your open house on Sunday. It'll be just as successful. I'm going to do continued promotion on day 5 as well. This is going to be my day where I'm going to go door knock around the property, those 25 to 50 homes that I identified earlier in the week. We're going to go door knock those. I'm going to make sure that if I haven't already, that I send that open house to my database and my circle of influence. And then this is also that day that I add the list of other listings into the Google Drive, right? If somebody didn't like this house, what would they be looking for? All those lists that I talked about earlier. I usually do it about 1 day prior to the open house. So again, all that information is up to date and current with the newest listings. Any questions? You can target too, if you set up your like Facebook appropriately, you can create lists of people. And then, so like I might have all of my database or my circle of influence people on one list in my social media so that I can promote that open house directly to them so that they can see it, so it doesn't get lost in the feed. All right. Day 6 is going to be your event day. This is open house day. I usually arrive early, somewhere between 30 to 60 minutes ahead of time. I'm going to go in the property. I'm going to open up the house. I'm going to make sure all the curtains are open. I'm going to turn on all the lights. Even if it's a bright, sunny day in the middle of July, I'm still going to turn on all the lights in the house. I'm going to make sure all the doors are open, the windows are open, so that it appears spacious and flowy and fabulous. Okay, I'm gonna make sure that the throws, the pillows, the magazines, everything's ready to go, that everything looks nice, that the tables have been straightened up. Sometimes I bring a rag with me so I can like wipe tables and countertops down in case they didn't do it. If it's an occupied property, I may bring an extra like doormat with me so that if they don't have one, people have a place to wipe their feet. And I usually have a towel with me as well, so that that way, if people track something in on the floors, I have the ability to clean it before I turn that house back over to the sellers. So I'm going to get it all set up and ready to go. I'm also going to do a quick walk through the property. The other thing that I do is like bath mats. I take those and put them away so that people aren't walking on the bath mats before, so that your sellers come home and are going to take a shower. They don't have dirty bath mats to walk on. I also think it looks nicer and cleaner without those bath mats on the floor. Make sure the towels are hung nicely. I do a quick walkthrough looking for any valuables that may have been left out or medicine that's visible. Or, you know, sometimes people leave their dirty laundry, their undies and their bras and stuff laying about, and I pick up all that stuff and tuck it away. Okay, I want it to look nice. Once I've got the house ready to go, then I'm going to leave the house, lock the door, and then I'm going to start putting out my open house signs. Okay, I usually start with the furthest one from the property and work my way back to the property so that somebody else doesn't beat me to the house before the open house is supposed to start. And make sure you bring some stuff to do that are real estate related work that you can do in your downtime. In case it happens to be a slow open house, you always have something that you can do that's going to be productive to moving your business forward. And then remember to have fun. Also, if you show up early, that would be a good time to do like a live video as well, walking through the property. So that's always a good time to do that as well. I like to pay somebody like $20 to go place all my signs, like a good investment of my time, energy, and effort. Because especially in the middle of July, if you're out putting out 8 signs in July, you're going to be a sweaty mess before your open house even starts. And I would rather somebody else do it. So I usually have the signs with me. They come and pick them up. I give them my map of where all the signs go. They take them and they put them out. I can stay in the house and be ready for the first visitor to arrive. And then at the end of the open house, about 10 minutes before it's supposed to finish up, I have that person come back and pick up and bring me all the signs back. And then that way I can lock down the open house and be done. Any questions about that? All right. Conducting the open house, right? Ready, set, action. Anytime somebody shows up, I acknowledge them with welcome, come on in, right? I'm going to meet and greet them, ask them their names, right? I'm going to require them to sign in. If they don't sign in, they don't get to come in. Again, I usually have a sign there on my welcome table that says, for the safety and security of the property, I require you to sign in. Right? Just like if we were showing the property, it would log us on the lockbox. I want to have a record of everybody who passed through that house. So I'm going to require them to sign in. And again, I'm there for lead generation. So if they don't want to sign in, then they're probably not serious about buying or selling a house, and they can just go on their merry way. I'm going to engage them with questions. One of the questions that you're not ever going to see on my sign-in sheet, and you're not ever going to hear me ask somebody, is, do you already have an agent? Okay. I'm under like the don't ask, don't tell policy. So I would rather ask them other questions that would lead me to kind of know if they've got an agent or not, and never prevent me from being able to contact them unless they specifically tell me they have an agent. At which point I'm going to ask them what their agent's name is so that I can jot that down on their sign-in sheet and that I can follow up with their agent, right? Some questions that I might ask them to help engage with them and to find out if they have an agent would be, oh, have you been looking for a house long? Oh, no, we're just starting. We thought it'd be fun to go through a couple open houses. Oh, perfect. They probably don't have an agent, right? Versus the, oh, yeah, we've been looking for a while. We just haven't found the right one. Oh, are you only going through open houses? Or how are you seeing the properties? Yeah, we've just been perusing open houses. Or no, our agent's been showing us properties, right? Now we have a pretty solid idea of what's going on with their situation. Okay. Let them explore the house on their own. You don't have to follow them around. Okay, if it's a really large house, remember, we're not going to be there by ourselves. So we may position somebody like partway in the house, or one upstairs, one downstairs, or something to that effect, or just around, so that they don't feel like they could pick something up and walk off with it. I've never had something walk off from any of my open houses. Knock on wood, I never will, but it does happen on occasion. But that is also part of the reason that I peruse the house looking for any valuables or meds or anything like that that somebody might want to walk away with. Okay. It's also a good time to confirm that contact information that is received, right? So this would be a good time, right, when we start having those conversations with them. Oh, well, yeah, we were really looking for a house a little bigger. Well, perfect, I've got a list. Or would you like me to send you a property flyer? Oh, is this the right number? Right? So you can do all of that. We want to make sure that we watch and listen. How engaged are they at looking at the property? What kind of conversations are they having? When they're in the kitchen, are they talking about that they like the kitchen, that they don't like the kitchen? Did they want a bigger kitchen? Had they always wanted an island and this one didn't have one, right? Pay attention to the conversation that they're having amongst themselves. And then ask questions that are going to lead to appointment opportunities. So look for listing opportunities or people that own, look for parties that rent, and then look for those that have both a house to sell and are looking for another property. Okay. We're never going to rule anybody out. Again, my assumption, if somebody walks through that door, is that they're looking to either buy or sell a property or do both. Okay. Your goal during the open house is to make appointments. It's much better to go ahead and set the appointment at the open house than say, well, let's connect later this week. So, right. So make up as many appointments as you can. So for people that maybe own homes, offer to give them a free market analysis of their house and schedule that walkthrough. Hey, I finished here at 4 o'clock. What if I swung by your house at about 4:30, did a quick walkthrough, and then I can put together a market analysis for you of a pretty good idea of what your value would be worth, or what your home would be worth, right? If you've got like buyers, offer them a sample of your buyer system and schedule that buyer's appointment to walk them through the home buying process, answer any questions or concerns that they might have, and just help them feel more comfortable with that home buying process. And also schedule showing appointments. If you've got people that are like, oh yeah, this is nice, but, right? Then be like, oh, well, I've got this list, or why don't I pull a list of properties that match that? And are you available, later today at 5 o'clock? I can show you some properties. Or are you available Monday afternoon? I'd be happy to show you those other properties that you might be interested in. Schedule that appointment. Again, it's going to be much better than you've got somebody that's like, man, this one's not quite the house. This is really what I was looking for. And you're like, oh, I can pull a list. Why don't I pull a list and we'll connect later this week and set a time to go see some properties? Now we've got to get that person back responding to us, versus if we have an appointment with them, they're going to feel more obligated to follow through. Okay, does that make sense to everybody?
Yes, ma'am.
Fabulous. All right. Once we finish the open house, you're going to close up the open house. So I'm going to return the home as I found it, right? If there were things that I moved, I usually make notes of those things so that as I go back to close up the house, I can pull up my notes and put those things back where I got them. I'm going to brief the sellers if they return, and my goal is to keep it positive during that first interaction. Maybe write a note if they're not back before you leave, and just say, thank you so much for allowing me to hold your house open today. If it's not your house, you can let them know that you'll provide all the feedback to their agent. And if it's your client, you can let them know that you will follow up with them on Monday with all the feedback. Collect all your signs. The other thing that I like to do in the open house is I like to create a thank you video in front of the key feature of the property. So maybe they have an amazing kitchen, or maybe they have the ugliest fireplace that you've ever seen. I'm going to stand in front of that key feature and say, hey, thank you so much for passing through. I just wanted to take a moment to thank you for passing through my open house today. Please note that if you're interested in this house or any other home in the greater Solano, Sacramento, Napa, Yolo counties, I would be happy to take you and let you tour those properties that you're interested in. I look forward to connecting with you soon. Have a great day, right? Just a thank you. And I just make it kind of blanket so I can text that off to everybody that came through my open house. I think a video is best. I think the key feature is best. because then number one, they start recognizing you and they feel more relational if they can see you. And number two, it'll remind them exactly what house it was that they walked through that you were holding open. Then you want to make sure you provide feedback to the listing agent if you aren't the listing agent, right? Let them know how many parties passed through, what the feedback was, so they can provide that to the seller. If there were things that you ended up having to tuck away on behalf of the seller, let them know as well. Like, hey, just so you know, like the seller left out the following items. I tucked them away, I pulled them all back out, but you may want to remind the seller before the next open house that they should tuck those things away, right? So just help them for the safety and security of the property. And then prepare to follow up with all the people that pass through that open house. Okay, I usually lock down the house before I start collecting signs. And again, if I've paid somebody to collect those signs in about 10 minutes, if I close at 4 o'clock, then at 3:50, I ask them to start picking up those signs so that they're done picking up signs at about the time the open house is supposed to end. All right, day 7, right? Day 6 was the action day. Day 7 is going to be the follow-up day. This is going to be 1 day post open house. Some of these things you may decide to do on the day of the open house, and some, if your open house is on Saturday, you may choose to wait to do them until Monday. Okay, send the thank you videos to all of the attendees. I would do on the day of the open house or the day after. I wouldn't wait too long to send that, because we want to capture that person, that potential buyer or seller right away and not with a delay. We're going to add any new prospects captured to our database. We're going to make sure that they're all in our CRM. We want to send thank you notes to all of the attendees. So anybody that you can find addresses for, send them a handwritten thank you note. And then you're going to reach out to all attendees daily for week 1. And then we're going to add them to what we call an 8x8, which is where we contact them once a week for the next 8 weeks. So follow up for week 1 is going to look something like this. And again, this is just an idea. You guys can tweak it, do whatever you want. Day 1, I would add to database, send that thank you video, and put the thank you note card in the mail. Anastasia has a question.
The slide prior to this one.
Yes.
You said, send thank you notes to all the attendees. So are you going to go and do a search to find out their address?
Absolutely.
Or, okay, stalker mode it is. Got it.
Yeah. I mean, you could also have it on your sign-in sheet. You could ask for their current, whether they rent or own and what their current address is, because you might be able to get some people to fill out that information. Then with stalker mode everybody else. Absolutely.
Okay, cool.
All right, so day 1, add the database, make sure that thank you video's gone out and put the thank you note card in the mail. Day 2 of that week 1, I'm going to add to a property search and send a text message to follow up. It's going to be something like, hey, I know when you passed through the open house, you mentioned you were looking for a 4-bedroom home in Vacaville. So I set you up with a 4-bedroom. I set you up to receive all the new 4-bedroom homes that come on the market in Vacaville up to, and then whatever the price range is that you put on there. Please let me know if you would like me to tweak that search in any way or make any adjustments to that search, or please let me know what adjustments you would like me to make to that search, right? Something that's going to solicit a response. Our goal is to get them responding to us and interacting with us. Day 3, I might send them a copy of the buyer info packet and send a text message with a potential matched property through the app and ask if they would like to schedule an appointment to see it, right? So I'm going to look at what new properties have come on the market and be like, oh my gosh, did you see the new property that it was 4 bedrooms? It just came on the market. Let me know if you would like to schedule a time to see it, right? The buyer info packet, I'm probably going to send via email because I'm trying to hit them on text, email, and phone. Day 4, I'm going to call to see if they received the property search email and the buyer packet. Hey, I set you up on a property search back on Monday or Tuesday. I just wanted to make sure that you're receiving that email that's notifying you of any new listings that are coming on the market as they're coming on the market. I also wanted to make sure that you received that buyer packet I sent over to you that walks you through the home buying process, right? So we're trying to get a response. Day 5, send an email with preferred lenders and a text asking if they would like a list of open houses for the weekend. Okay. Day 6, send a text to let them know to have a great weekend and let them know that you're available if there's any homes that they would like to see. Okay, as soon as they start responding, then we're going to make it a little bit more personal and aimed more directly at them. We're going to abandon this follow-up. This is really just set in stone and going along for those that haven't started responding to us yet. Okay, if they're still not responding to us after the 6-day follow-up plan, then we're going to move them over to an 8x8, which is we're going to contact them once a week for the next 8 weeks. Okay, it's going to be a mix of phone calls, text messages, and emails. And if they're still not responding after that 9th week, right? Our first week was daily, then once a week through the 8th week or the 9th week, then we're going to roll them over to what we call a 19 to connect. So we're going to keep them in our database. We're going to continue dripping on them with our monthly newsletters, with our quarterly phone calls, with all of those things that we will cover during our regularly scheduled rev up on Tuesdays. We'll go over it in detail, but we want to continue to reach out to them. Oftentimes it takes people a while to be ready, especially those that pass through open houses. Sometimes they're not ready to buy a house today. They're just seeing how far their money will go, or they ran a payment simulator and they wanted to see what that will get them. Now they've got to save up more down payment or get themselves in a better position to buy. So we never want to stop interacting with them with the hopes that they're going to start interacting with us. Does that make sense to everybody?
Yes, ma'am.
Fabulous. That brings us to the end of our open house system and process. Again, these are just recommendations based on experience and based on conversations with other agents of what is working well and what's not. You're welcome to tweak it and change it. But again, if open houses are going to be one of your forms of lead generation, just like any other form of lead gen, I highly recommend having those systems and processes in place with check off sheets so that it makes it really easy. Again, if we know an open house is scheduled for that next weekend, we pull off our list and we know exactly what we're going to do each day leading up to and following our open house so that we have consistency in our business. Okay, don't be like me. When I first got started in real estate, when I was really like doing this full time, I hosted open houses every weekend. I usually walked away with either a buyer or a seller lead from every single open house, but I had, 10 or 15 lead sheets from every open house. And what I did with those is I put them in a pile on my desk with the intention that I was going to follow up with them. And that stack just kept growing and I didn't ever do anything with them included. I didn't add them into my CRM. I didn't ever call them back. I didn't follow up with them. I probably lost hundreds of thousands of dollars of business because I failed to follow up with those open house leads. Okay, so don't do that. Make sure that you follow that system and process to get them in your system right away and do the follow-up plan. Questions? Thoughts? I will get you both a copy of my buyer packet, and I'll also share the link to the one in One Design or One Creative. I'm not sure which one it's in.
Thank you, Amy.
You are welcome.
Even though I've seen this a few times, there's always something new that I
like list reports.
Exactly. Bam. And stalking.
Right. Stalk these people. Go to the title website and search their name in the county. Right? I know. Yep. Very good. Well, thank you for joining me today.
Amy.
Yeah.
I missed, what was the 19 by 19? It was, or was it 9 by 9 or 19 by 19?
So it's the week 1 is daily. Once, if they're not interacting with us by day 6, then we go to an 8 by 8. So it's 1 contact a week for the next 8 weeks after that.
Right.
And then if they're still not interacting with us after that, then we're going to move them to a 19 to connect. So we're going to interact with them at least 19 times over the next year.
19 to connect over a year. Got it. Okay. Thank you.
Absolutely.
And I'm excited for the other ones, for the other rev ups and the lead gens. I will be
Good.
there to all of those.
Good. Fabulous. All right. Thank you all. And we'll see you next week for our next training series. It'll start on Monday with forms.
Yay.
Yay.
Good
All right.
night, everybody.
Good night.